Hello and welcome to another episode of WorkLifeCompass, where we explore the unique journeys of job seekers and immigrants in Canada, providing valuable insights and inspiration for those working towards their dreams. I'm your host, Mariia Elsayed, and today we have a very special guest with us, Olena. Olena is an engaged volunteer and event coordinator. She has a rich background in fitness and public speaking from her time in Kyiv, Ukraine. Since moving to Canada, she has been actively involved in various nonprofit organizations, using her networking skills to build connections and find employment opportunities. We're thrilled to have her to share her journey and insights, especially because she's from Ukraine, from my home country. Welcome to the show, Olena.
Hello, Mariia. I'm super glad to hear you. I'm glad to be here today. Hello, guys, everybody. I hope you're going to enjoy this podcast, and I'm happy to be able to share something about myself and about my journey. I hope it's going to inspire somebody else from the audience.
For sure, it will. Let's start with your journey from Ukraine to Canada. Can you share what inspired you to move to Canada and how your experience has been adjusting to life and work here?
Well, first, I have to say that it's still adjusting because it's not an easy change. And secondly, I'm not from the group of people, the massive group of people in the world who is preparing to move to Canada and who has this move as their dream and goal. Made to make this choice, but I'm happy with it at the moment already. Me and my family, we were away for vacation from Ukraine for 2 weeks in Sri Lanka when the war struck. So we stayed there for a year and a half. And after that, we had to make a move. Not being able to come back to our homeland, we decided to make even bigger move. So came to British Columbia to start our lives. My husband was lucky enough to secure the contract being in Sri Lanka, so we came here for his contract, and I started my journey from the very zero here, and it's still going on. A lot of things I've learned, a lot of things have changed, but I have to say honestly, I'm still in the process of settlement. Though I have been helping other people to to get through some milestones in the settlement, but I myself have not finished it yet. Still going.
Just by helping other people, we usually help ourselves too, by volunteering, by sharing with the community, by helping other immigrants to adjust, to help. It's a healing process, it's adjustment, and it will take a while. People are saying that settlement in Canada usually takes about 18 months, but I don't believe honestly in these numbers because everybody's stories and journeys are unique, and somebody are able to settle within a couple of weeks or months, and some other people need years to adjust. But everything depends from our motivation, from our goals and what we plan to do, and I believe that you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. You're absolutely right. It depends on the time when you arrived in this situation. I think as a Ukrainian, if I would have arrived a year ago, earlier, the positions for Ukrainians in the settlement sector would be just like it would be lots of them as it was, and they were successfully taken by Ukrainians. And now these programs are not being funded again. So they just they're going on, but they don't need other people, which is fine because I see it as a challenge, an interesting challenge to find myself probably not from a side of a Ukrainian, but just in the nonprofit sector in Canada. And this is why I started my being here by volunteering. So I understood that this is a big thing here already after a couple of weeks of being here. And I started some learning and experiencing Volunteer Connector and websites like this to find my first volunteering role. And I could find it successfully, which great thanks. This is my first, I would say, full-scale experience in Canada, which is still going on. And it gave me a lot from every side: communication, culture, mentality, all the segments of working behavior. So I was lucky, I can say.
Truly, like a year ago or 2 years ago, it was more position for Ukrainian speaking professionals, and there's a lot of professionals, and many people still arriving from Ukraine to Canada. Especially, it was a lot of people who came to Canada on March. They arrived from Ukraine and they still need support. And unfortunately, they don't have very high English skills and they need more Ukrainian speaking settlement workers, employment counselors, and working in this industry for around 2 years, I see a lot of needs of Ukrainian speaking professionals in nonprofit organizations and additional programs where people can get support to learn digital literacy. There's a lot of seniors who need support, who have difficulties with learning English. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of interest, and I wish it could be more funding and more awareness and more understanding that people do need Ukrainian speaking professionals right now.
You know, this is very supporting because it's true. On every settlement services website, I see lots of languages that they speak and priority languages, but I almost never see Ukrainian. So there are just a couple of organizations that are really focused on that, and they have Ukrainian speaking staff. For example, Impact North Shore, they're staffed absolutely. But I don't have examples like that almost apart from this place. So yeah, there is a problem in funding, but hopefully slowly it's gonna start dripping more. I don't know. All people have to just count on themselves.
Yeah, it is. It's not that easy process, like learning languages, to have a settlement worker, to have employment counselor, to understand the job market in Canada without knowing the language. It's very difficult for people, and the Ukrainian speaking professional additionally could solve this problem, could make it easier adjustment and settlement for the people for sure. And I would like to talk more about the volunteering. Your role as a volunteer and event coordinator sounds fascinating. And can you tell us more about what you do and how you got involved in B2B sales?
Oh yeah, it's a big and different story. Yeah, at the same time, I am combining volunteering as a volunteer coordinator. So it's not event coordinator, it's only volunteer coordinator in a charity, and a part-time role as a B2B sales associate for a little production based in Poco. I like the brand, I like the team. That's why I haven't joined them before, and I'm continuing with them. A volunteering role, as I said, I found on the Volunteer Connector, or actually Charity Village. I'm not sure, one of these. Yeah, it seemed super interesting as it actually resulted to be. My employment, so to say, there was probably, it happened within maybe 2-3 weeks altogether. Then I was onboarded and started working. This role gave me a chance to embrace the functions and roles I never had before. So thanks a lot to the charity I'm in for entrusting this to me, because it gave me a wonderful experience and still is giving this experience to me. I managed to create a volunteer program for the guys and run couple events, volunteers-wise. So I've... as we are in the season of summer now, we have lots of events in the calendar running one by one after another. This is a very hot fundraising season, so it's important to keep volunteers engaged, happy, and willing to come back and work with us because there is a vibe, because we like them and they feel it, and they feel doing meaningful stuff and making an impact. This is what I call a very valuable experience in Canada for myself, because now I showcase it and use it to the maximum within my interviews. Though it's volunteering, I underline and always say that because it's quite time consuming, I can call it just unpaid full-time role, to be honest, which is hard from one side, but it gives me this very valuable experience. At the same time, I'm volunteering in another big British Columbia scale, also volunteer-run non-profit organization, which is called Nature Kids BC. I am a club lead for Tri-Cities, and my task is to design, create, schedule, promote, and run little events, family events, when children coming with parents are not being dropped off by parents. They all together stay for an hour and a half or for an hour with us and find out something new about the nature, do something nice, and feel as a family, and they feel they are actually involved in the nature of BC, which is beautiful. So this is a nice one as well. And the environment in the organization is great. They acknowledge that they kind of depend on the volunteers, and they are very grateful to them. So it feels thanks to them.
Thank you so much for sharing. I believe like volunteering seems to play a significant role in your life. And what motivated you to get involved with nonprofit organizations, and how has it impacted your career and personal growth?
So to be honest, I just, sat down when I already was in Canada. I sat down and I looked at my CV, at my resume, as they say here, and estimated my experience, my skills, estimated Canadian job market as I understood it by that moment, and tried to transfer my skills onto this market. And I realized that the best fit probably would be nonprofit sector. And then I narrowed it down even more to coordination, remembering that I've been hiring coaches in my key of life years ago. I thought that why not to hire volunteers the same way, which I found a transferable skill. This is how it happened. And then this first volunteering found me and I found it. So now I'm focusing on this role, which is quite tough because it's very narrow, but I'm still hoping that I'm going to be on my place having this position because I want it.
Volunteering is like a full-time job. You have to work hard. You have to do many things. You have duties and responsibilities the same as at the workplace. And it's not an easy thing to do, but also it's very rewarding because you know that you bring a lot of good things to the community. You bring a lot of changes. You support nonprofit organizations, which doesn't have a lot of budget, unfortunately, for those kind of roles. And it's great that you're able to share your knowledges and your skills with people to support them. It's about giving back to the community, to be grateful this land, to be grateful to Canadian people by giving back that they did a lot of things for our country, for our people especially. I had volunteering experience too when I arrived to Canada. I've been volunteering from the first days, and I've been volunteering with different kind of organizations, especially with WorkBC, with Food Bank Friends in Need in Maple Ridge, with different other organizations. And I felt that through volunteering, I'm giving back to the community, that I just was a way to tell thank you for these people who made a lot for my people, for my country. So it's amazing that you continue to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I have to thank you as well, as I already said, to the charity itself, that I could practice these new skills for myself, because I've never ever been a volunteer coordinator before. So I practiced, and tuned and tweaked these skills while doing them, actually, for a Canadian nonprofit. So it's kind of unbelievable, but great. So successfully and happily, it all turned out well. But so I was doing it from scratch. I was starting and, practicing everything from scratch, from my intuition, to be honest.
That's awesome. So you found out about your transferable skills and all your experience, all your background and knowledges. It just led you to the position, because you would not know that you're capable to do so many things, and that you have this kind of talent. And with volunteering position, you just work on your transferable skills. You realize that is a great match for you. So it's easier to find a job right now. And as event coordinator, as settlement worker, and it's a great thing that you practice, that you gain new skills. I'm sure that it will be very helpful in your next position.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to and though I have a couple of fails already on my way, for this or that reason, because actually I don't usually receive the feedback on the reasons after I have unsuccessful interview, which actually can be even like the reference check already. So people, for some reason, companies, they don't like to get back to you again and explain anything. This is true. And this is my observation that I find quite negative. But I still believe that it's going to happen, and I'm just becoming stronger because I've built lots of connections. I've created my own community around me I'm even using the fact that I'm Ukrainian to help these people, as I mentioned before already. At school, at the school where my children are, there are people who help. So not in the role of settlement officer, but I still try to be that for them, explaining the things that they don't understand in simple words, and it seems to be working.
It's a part of volunteering too, when you share a lot of knowledge and supporting people by any way you can. It's volunteering too. Like, you will not get the certificate, but also you can add this experience to your resume because you do have experience, you do create impact, a huge impact for other people's life. And if you didn't answer on their questions, if you wasn't there to support them, they would feel miserable. They would feel lost in new country without support, without answers on these questions. There's tons of nonprofit organizations and tons of different resources, but on the beginning, you need that one person who will tell you where is it. Because when you're new to the country, you have no access to many resources. You may know about one or two nonprofit organizations, and that is it.
Yeah, actually, in the beginning, the Ukrainian speaking, in my case, chats are very helpful because this is something that you can join yet not even being in the country. I'm telling that not only for Ukrainians, but for anybody, to kind of learn the environment a little bit, to at least know where you can get help, some sources. Because when you're already here, the first time is a very panicky time. You need to get lots of documents in place, your place, your school, if you have children, and all that stuff is very stressful. So at least something you can do beforehand, before coming into the country. I built some connections even on those chats way before yet staying in Sri Lanka. So, coming here, I a little bit felt like I'm coming somewhere where my friends are, which was...
That is awesome. And on your opinion, what could be helpful for newcomers when they arrive to Canada? Maybe something what you wanted to know, or you wanted that it will exist, or to be there for you to answer your questions. What could be helpful?
So the wishes the needs will be probably different for those who speak English and for those who don't, because those who do speak, they find information quite easily. And it's less stressful. For those who don't speak English, I think So the need in this case would depend on the level of English language skills, I think. Those who speak English easily would find information easier, and it would be less stressful. For those who don't speak English, and it's a lot of them at the moment coming, especially seniors or even not so seniors, but still people like, I don't know, over 50 maybe, who... find it more difficult just, to find any information in your place. So I think that those settlement organization booths in the airport, to have more of them would be very helpful. Like, I know that we used to have the Success booth. I'm not sure if it's there still, but I think that it's not actually anymore. So if all the organizations that we have in Vancouver could be present in the airport, that would be much better. Also, my kids didn't need it, but at school, when you already are enrolled at school, the person who is helping with the settlement information for the children and for yourself also is required. I know that most of schools, school districts have this person. But for example, for us, it didn't work and nobody contacted us. So I had to do it later, which wasn't a problem for me. But I think for the most of the people, it would be very helpful as well. So
it's a Swiss worker that many people don't know. It calls Swiss worker.
Yeah. So, okay, so the program that funds settlement offices at schools is called Swiss Worker. This program is called like this, right? So all of them are under this program, right?
The person who provide the services, it calls Swiss worker.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know the name of the department, what they do.
Well, they're people from school district, because I know one of them for Tri-Cities, and she works in a school district. And she's that person for some of the schools. she received information from the school and about new people who came from our countries. I wouldn't say only Ukraine because it's not only Ukraine. And she contacts them and she provides all the information. So, but it happens in such a wiggly way, not in the first place. So it can get lost and the help doesn't arrive.
Yeah, it happens sometimes because they have very high caseload. Swiss workers and settlement workers, case managers, employment counselors, they do have very high caseloads, and not all of them are able to contact people properly. Sometimes they do send emails, sometimes they do phone calls, and information may get lost somewhere. Sometimes it's not happening often. Sometimes they give you a call, and if you didn't answer, they just mark it as didn't answer, and that's it. And they go through other lists and they will not get back to you. It can happen by some reason sometimes.
Yeah, well, maybe this is what happened to us, but well, maybe not. She even wasn't trying to do it because she didn't get information from the school. So it's not even on her side. For some reason, the school didn't submit this information. Anyway, this is something that can be corrected. Maybe we just need more of those offices.
We do need, I wish it could be more information about the nonprofit organizations for newcomers from all countries, that people will have access to the list of nonprofit organizations, as you mentioned, like booth in airport, or even the billboards in airport would be very helpful for people who is arriving, because most of us were reading the posters in airport or like on the bus stop, and we read that, and if information will be useful, we will take a photo, we'll write down the number or the website, and we'll reach out to these people later. So if it could be more awareness, and especially for refugees, many refugees, they are arriving, they already know where to go. They know one or two nonprofit organizations which will support them and which will guide them a new country. But if could be additional like brochure or any kind of thing that even officer in the airport could give to these people to spread awareness, to show that this nonprofit organizations exist, to give people a chance to not be that much stressful upon arriving.
Yeah, actually, we got this folder even with lots of stuff, lots of information, lots of leaflets from Success, which was the primary kind of welcoming organization there in the airport. Yeah, I just wish that it would be more of them presented there. So I don't quite understand why they all could not be there, because, it seems that we only have Success, but when you actually come to Vancouver and you spend some time, you see that it's lots of them and they're all trying to help, but you need to reach out. And then, the more you are on LinkedIn, for example, the more you are somewhere like in the environment here, the more you see them. But in the beginning, it's tough. So they are not so active by themselves when you just arrived. When you're lost, you need still to find.
Absolutely. And I have another question for you. What are your future career aspirations, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Well, yeah, as I said before, after looking at my resume, I realized what I want to be here and what I'm looking at myself now and in the future. Among my biggest aspirations would be taking my experience in nonprofit before, my transferable skills. It will be event coordination and already volunteer coordination, but something which is very interesting for me is fundraising aspect, area, zone, and donor relations, because it's like stewardship for partners in for-profit organizations. And this experience I also have, and I find it extremely transferable. So I hope to start transferring that way when I get the first job here. This is the plan. I would see myself experienced in donor relations in 3 years, maybe.
That's an amazing. I wish you all the best in your journey and your new way. And I hope that you will get the job that will be great for you and suitable will align with all your skills, knowledges, and abilities that you have. So for professionals who would listen to this podcast, please reach out to Olena. She is looking for new opportunities in nonprofit organizations. with her skills and abilities, and you can find more information in her LinkedIn profile. Please reach out to her directly, and she will be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mariia. This is very inspiring and supporting. This is exactly something I was looking for when I signed up for making this podcast with you today. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And it leads to another question that I'm asking all my guests. Why did you take a decision to participate in WorkLifeCompass podcast?
Interesting. I just responded it, but I would gladly develop on this. First of all, I treasure all the Ukrainians whom I meet here, especially when they're already established in Canada. I try to communicate and engage them in my community and become engaged in theirs to have mutual benefit. So I was sure that making your audience feel a little bit more from a different side who you are through me, because we are both from the same country, this wonderful country, would be benefiting you. And also I'm happy to be able to say a word for your audience.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I would love to have more people from Ukraine joining the podcast, and all the job seekers, professionals. So it doesn't matter from which country you are, you're more than welcome. And I'm happy to explore more best sides of my guests, and share their unique stories, challenges, inspiration, and motivation on this podcast. That is what it's made for, share, to be about you and for you.
Thanks for inviting, and thanks for making this podcast. Thanks for spending time. Thanks for preparing for it. And thanks for that people can just push play and listen to lots of motivational information for them.
And thank you so much for our listeners by tuning into another episode of WorkLifeCompass. Please follow Olena on LinkedIn, and also you can take a look on her portfolio on LinkedIn too. Connect with her, follow, and ask her question. And also she's open for new job opportunities. And remember to stay resilient, keep networking, and support each other in your career journeys. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.